good afternoon, good evening, or whatever time you are watching the Cole Mantell Show, as I get about 16 different warnings on my computer. That's a new one. There we go. All right. Welcome back, everybody, to the Cole Mantell Show. I am Cole Mantell, and we got 3 new guests joining us for this, the 6th edition of the Cole Mantell Show. We'll start with, well, he's been around for a while. He had his own podcast for a long time. Finally was able to get him on the show. I'll start with the Florida AD, Adam Smith. Adam, how you doing?
Doing good, man. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me, man.
Good to have you on. We got Antonio McDaniel, the Michigan State AD. You know, I have been on his team for a while, so I finally got my own AD onto the podcast. It was about time. How you doing, Antonio? Oop, you cut out a little bit there. You there, Drake? We'll come back to him. And ooh,
Hello?
there you go. You there, Drake?
Yeah, hey, my bad. I'm
No, you're
doing
good.
great, man. I won't complain. Everything's all right. How's everybody doing?
Doing good. And then finally, Tiny, CJ Furman, the Tennessee AD, also joining us. The third, we have all new guests. I think all 3 of you. This is the first time in a while we've had all 3 guests be new guests. So how you doing, Tiny?
I'm fantastic.
And so we actually, it's not only that, we have 3 different conferences. We don't always get that. I try to keep it separate. You know, it's like
Are you
different
sure
teams.
about that?
No, it's
Yeah,
both
not,
SEC.
No,
not
it's
different conferences.
You know why I
everybody.
thought about that? Is because they moved LSU, so I forgot that they kept everyone else in the SEC.
Yeah.
So that's on me. That's what we're not even 2 minutes in, and I already messed that up. That's better. The Chaos Quiz last week was, I don't know if you guys were listening, was much worse. I messed up like 4 of the rules, so I'm going to be much more on my game for that. I'm ready for that.
I can't even tell you half the teams that are in the SEC right now because after the move and all that.
Oh, yeah, no, when I was in the SEC, it was obvious, like, you know, obviously I'm Auburn and Alabama and Georgia are all with me in Florida too, but then like LSU would leave and come back. We had well, Tennessee came back. I think that was right before I became AD. And then we also, like, South Carolina was a member of the SEC for a season. There was a season where the SEC had like 10 teams, and they had West Virginia and Pittsburgh, I think, was a team in the SEC for a season. So,
Oh yeah, when they had only 2
yeah, when it was
conferences. Yep.
the Big Ten and the SEC. So, I mean, that's CFSL for you. It changes every season. And LSU, again, we'll get to this in a little bit, going over the Big 12. So on the schedule today, we're going to do the conference previews of each conference. We're going to look at some records and maybe a chaos quiz at the end here, but just a lot of stuff. Actually, we can just go right into it. I think that'd be a great place to start. And so I did not plan for this. We're recording this on a Friday afternoon, Friday evening. Obviously, it's going to come out Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, so about 24 hours from now. You guys will be listening to this, but as we are recording this, it looks like Ware and a few of the other content guys are actually doing an article for each conference to do a preview. So I'm actually going to pull up the Season 21 ACC way too early predictions. We'll start with the ACC. For the guests here, you don't have to use the article that Ware put out. I actually don't agree with it 100% anyway. So we'll go through it. You guys can talk about as much or as little of the conference you want to talk about. There is no ACC ADs in here, so I'll start with Drake. I want to see how because we're going to talk about the SEC a bunch anyway, with the 2 SEC ADs in here. Drake, what do you think about the ACC? What do you think we should be looking at?
Well, I'm gonna start off definitely with Florida State. They had a bad season last season. You know, I believe they are really upset about that season. So I watched them. They did great in the off season. Tom is an awesome AD. So I'm thinking they got it right back on track this season. They by far in the ACC had the best off season to me. You know, I look for them to go ahead and dominate. Miami with their awesome offense, that's going to be something that you got to watch. I wasn't too keen on their defense, but I think those are the top 2 teams coming out that division. Florida State out of that conference, and Florida State on top. Um, After that, it's kind of a toss up. North Carolina lost some players. I don't think they did as good as they thought. Um, with Notre Dame and Clemson, it's a lot going on with them in that. So it's going to be interesting to see the bottom. But top wise, definitely Florida State and Miami.
Um, so I will mention, and I understand that's not because I've known you for a while, Antonio. So I know this is not how you wanted to phrase it, but I will mention that FSU went 4-5 last season. Definitely not what Tom wanted. But Michigan State did go 1-7, so it is interesting to call it a bad season for them when you start that off. I feel like Tom would roast me alive. I didn't mention that you called 4-5 a bad season, which again, not up to his expectations, but
Yes.
yeah, I think I agree with you. FSU is going to be maybe one of the top teams. Just because it literally released about an hour before we started recording. I will mention Ware is predicting Florida State going 7-1 this season. Miami, he agrees with you. It's going to be the second team in the conference at 5-3. I don't know. I think FSU going 7-1. I'm never going to doubt Tom. I think I would agree he's likely going to be the champion of the ACC, but I think it's going to be a lot closer. And the ACC the last few seasons have been much closer than what he has predicted. Like Notre Dame obviously is rebuilding the roster. I don't see them as a 2-6 team. Clemson under a first-year AD, I think he is going to struggle a little bit, but I don't think he's a 2-6 team, 1-4 in
Hmm.
conference. The one that for
I
me is
think
North
Virginia Tech will
Carolina.
be a higher.
I think, well, it's going to be tough. It's because if you say Clemson's going to be better, then obviously Virginia Tech is one of those teams that they have to beat, right? So who wins
Right.
that game? Um, I think North Carolina is way too low here. I think North Carolina. I'm not saying that they are. They're not going to have the same offense with Florida State's quarterback. They're not going to have quite as good as defense as Miami usually has. I think North Carolina is going to be a little bit more of a balanced team. I don't know if North Carolina is going to win. I think FSU is also my pick to win the ACC for the record here, but that'd be my team that I think is being a little bit overlooked if we're going to go by the article and by what Drake's saying. Um, actually, Adam, we'll go over to you. What do you think?
I mean, I know, it's Tom.
You're a
So
little low,
you can't
Adam.
ever count them out. But
Adam,
I
your
know
voice
for
is
a
low.
fact last season
I'm over there in the
was
chair.
was kind of disappointing for him.
Hey, Adam.
He had
Sorry,
higher hopes for last season.
Sorry, Adam. Your voice is a little bit low. I can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. He
No,
had
no, no. You're
higher
good.
hopes. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, a little better.
All right. I know he had higher hopes for the season than where they ended up.
Drake, you can mute
And
as
I'm
well.
sure he's gone on and they've picked up quite a bit of talent in this offseason. I've got Florida State winning the ACC. I've actually got North Carolina just ahead of Miami.
You think North Carolina's gonna be second then?
Yeah, I've got North Carolina taking the second playoff spot there, and Miami fighting for that third.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I don't know if I agree with you, but I think I could see it happening easily. Um, and yeah, I don't know, I can mute people. Drake, I think I got, there you go. Nope, and now I can't unmute it.
And I
Oh,
think I think throughout those next spots, I believe Clemson's probably got the best chance of coming in, fourth in there. Wetzel's done a pretty good job of bringing in some talent. Uh, Notre Dame's, I mean, that's almost a complete rebuild. I think 2-6 is probably a generous, prediction of their season, just because I could say that I've had a rebuild season myself last season. I started with 5 guys on the freaking roster last season, so I mean, and that's all we did was 2-6. So it's not a shot at them. I just don't think that they're going to get more than 2 or 3 wins this season. I'd be surprised if they got more than 3 wins. So I think
so
I think
yeah.
those two bottom spots are kind of up in the air because Virginia Tech's kind of at the same boat. Yeah, they're bringing people over from the other teams, but I mean it's not a full roster that's already set, and was a dominating roster.
So I would agree with you in a sense. Notre Dame obviously new AD and a lot of rebuilds to do there. You talk about Clemson. I will add, I think in terms of total players, Clemson had the most recruits this season. Um, I'd have to check the math on that. And obviously, by the time this podcast comes out, there might be another few recruits who signed. So, um, but they had a bunch. My only concern with Clemson is I think that their base is very good. Tavon Moss, I think, is going to be a really good quarterback, and I think some like the halfback they brought in, Robert Wetzel, is obviously the '80s player. I think he's going to be very good. My issue is that there's a lot of 3 stars, and 3 stars will upgrade. I know, I was like just looking over their additions. A few of these guys I think will upgrade. Um, that would be why I have concerns about Clemson compared to a team like Virginia Tech, who may not have quite as many people, but a lot of them are 5 stars. Like all of their transfers except for one were 5 stars, and they got like a dozen 5 stars on the roster. And the depth is an issue. I would agree with you on that, Adam, but that would be the only reason why I would have Virginia Tech over Clemson right now. It's just the 5 stars they got. Okay, yeah, but I agree with you a lot of what you're saying too. Tiny, thanks for waiting. Any thoughts for you?
I mean, yeah. I mean, clear. Like in my opinion, I mean, Grin is such a good AD. Connects with everyone on a personal level, no matter who you are, no matter if you've wronged him in the past, like I have. I mean, I was really mean to him whenever I was first starting out here. Unnecessarily, I thought I was just being edgy, but I mean, he could bring it. He can recruit like no other. So, I mean, I see them as clear front runners in the ACC, and then I mean, essentially what everyone else said, just follow in line. Possibly Miami, and then North Carolina. Those are definitely the top 3 in my opinion.
So the top 3 teams obviously get into the playoffs, and then you have the voting spot. Um, I think the consensus opinion here is that Florida State's going to get one of those top 3 spots easily, if not win the division outright. Now with the new format, obviously the top 2 teams getting to choose in each division their opponent. I think Florida State, if they can get that, the question is then, is it North Carolina or is it going to be somebody else, Miami or, Clemson or Virginia Tech if they make a jump there? That's what's going to make, and I think this is why the ACC is one of the best conferences in general to watch because I think there's some real opportunity there to have some fun with that. If we know if Florida State's going to be one of those 2 teams, who's going to be the other one? Um, and so I will probably look at that more as the season gets going, but I thought that would be some kind of fun to look at and talk about, especially because, again, like we talked about, Florida State, you could almost consider it a down season by Tom standards, and moving forward, I think it's going to be a lot of fun to look at from that angle. And he definitely improved this offseason too.
Yeah,
so
and you don't want Tom on the warpath.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no. When I played for him the first season, I think it was season 7. Yeah, it was season 7. We didn't have a great season the first season I was there, and then I remember the next season, like we won a playoff game. It was the last time that I've both gone over 500 in a season and won a playoff game in the same season with my player. And we beat the brakes. I think it was Florida. We just beat the brakes off of them, and then we went to the playoffs. And I think we lost. I think it was Notre Dame. I'd have to go back and look. But whenever he has a down season, that's almost you want to fear him a little more because he's got a lot to prove that he's still up for the challenge, and it should be a lot of fun to watch. I agree with you, Adam. And so we'll move to the Big Ten. We have a Big Ten AD in here. Drake, I have a feeling you already know I already know who your pick's going to be to win the whole thing, but tell me a little bit about the conference as a whole. And yeah, I'll give you a little bit of chance here to say what you think about Michigan State coming into the season.
Okay, well, listen, I'm a true believer in what you see on paper don't usually add up to what you see on the field because you still got to put in the work. You understand? Of course, USC is the defending champs. The last 2 years, they made awesome runs in the playoffs. So you can't take that away from them. Their defense is awesome. Offense is high. It's fast and they score. So it's only right that I give USC they due diligence. If you understand, you know what I mean. I'm not going to say Michigan State because that's my team. We got a lot of work to do. We did awesome in the play off season, pulling some minded coaches, and because we was bottom three offense, so definitely needed some offensive minded people in here. But all right, I start off USC definitely. I'm going to say I love what Ohio State did this season. They stocked up on defense. They went and got some proven veterans that can make plays. Wilder, cornerback, one of the best in transfer. Schultz, free safety, awesome safety. He killed us last season, first game of the season. Lincoln Martin, I mean the pancake monster, offensive lineman playing wide receiver. So I'm gonna shock it, and I'm gonna call it. I like Ohio State number 2.
Interesting. Okay.
Listen, the way they throwing that ball with Tyree and the way they added on them defense, and they got Diamond and Stork on the ends, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to beat them. Do I think we can pull it off? Yes, but it's going to be hard. That way, I put MSU at 3 because I do believe in our guys. We made an awesome, awesome transformation from first off season to second off season. And I believe our offense going to be rolling. Our defense done got great, great players to come in, and we was already top 10. I truly believe we're going to get in top 5 this season. Defense, offense. So I'm looking at a 5-3, 6-2. I'm just being honest. I got to go with that. I think Michigan and Penn State.
So that's where I'm going to
Tough.
interject. I want to know, because if you're putting Michigan State and Ohio State for the top 3, where are you putting? And Adam, I think you and I are thinking the same thing here. Where do you put them?
Listen.
Oregon and Penn State, who are semifinalists, and Michigan, who's also a semifinalist.
Well,
quarterfinalist.
I say Penn State lost a lot. Yes, J.K. Matthews is good. I don't think he's better than Cohane. So I think they took a fall there. Penn State, I think Michigan fell a little with the Baylor quarterback coming over. So, I know they didn't have the talent like they got now. So I want to see if they can still do better. So I would say Penn State, Michigan, Oregon. Just because they lost a lot, and they did try to bring in some people, lost a lot. Michigan to graduations,
Yeah, no,
but I can't.
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
I can't put it past Smitty and Aaron Ike or Trips. But I think it's going to be a new order up there with the 2 bottoms coming up, Ohio State and Michigan State. That's just my opinion.
All right, Adam, I think you had some things you wanted to say. I'll let you go next. I'll go from there.
No, I agree with him when it comes to Ohio State. I like what Zach's done there. Assured fame. He's done good bringing in talent and filling some gaps that they've had the last couple of seasons where they didn't have the right talent in those key positions. And I think they've done a pretty good job of filling that. I mean, Penn State really didn't lose a whole lot. And I mean, Travis seems to be pretty excited about, Matthews and whatnot. And I know that they did bolster up that defensive line, which was an issue last season. So, I mean, I think Michigan did pretty good in the offseason recruiting wise as well. I think they got some pretty solid pickups too. So I'm I'm gonna have to say that USC, the champ's the champ till somebody beats the champ. You know what I mean? That's that's
Amen.
that's always been my philosophy. I hate when somebody wins the national championship and they come in the next season and they're ranked third preseason. How the hell you do that? This is the, the champ's the champ till somebody beats them. So USC got my number one spot. I'm gonna have to throw Penn State at two. No homer there. It's just, I mean, that roster is still so full of talent.
I
And
would have, Adam, I would have thought you put your brother at 7 or something like that.
no, I want to set him up there so week one
Oh, yeah.
a better win for me. But no, the third, I think that's going to be a battle between Ohio State and Michigan. Honestly, I think I think Ohio State looks really good, and I wouldn't be
They do.
surprised. They've 100% got the squad to take second in that division. You have a couple bad games if you're Penn State or Michigan, and you can very easily fall to that number four spot. Very, very easily. So I think this is probably the conference that has had the most shifting in it that's going to make it the most interesting to watch.
Alrighty. And Tiny, I'll wait. I'll let you get your thoughts in real quick too.
I mean, yeah, you got to go. I mean, you don't have to go, but USC definitely up top, defending champs. I like what Assured has done at Ohio State. Uh, just, I mean, building them up. I don't believe they had any transfers out last season, which just speaks to the trust that his team has in him. And it's a toss up for that third spot. Really, I mean, all in my opinion, all the teams are good in some aspect or another. So it's a fight for third in that conference between the rest of the field, really.
Yeah, I'm really stumped on this one. I gotta exude a little bit of confidence here, like my AD seems to love here. Oh man. Here's the thing with the Big Ten, and it happened as soon as I left the SEC. I'm so grateful that all the talent seems to want to follow me. There could be 7 playoff worthy teams in this conference, or excuse me, there's 6 total. There's 6 playoff
Six.
worthy teams. No, you know what? I think there's 7. I think we add Illinois back, and they're playoff worthy too. I guess I don't even know. I mean, from top to bottom, I think the Big Ten is easily, at least to me, the strongest conference in the CFSL this season. I think any of the 6 teams in this conference feasibly, I'm not saying I would pick them, but I would say they have a feasible way to win the championship this season because they're just all so deep. Um, I was surprised. I'm not surprised because I've heard Drake in our locker room talking about Ohio State for a little bit now, but I am a little bit surprised the group is very high on them. I don't know if I would choose them to be a playoff team just because of how tough this conference is, but I see where you guys are coming from. It's not like I don't understand why people are picking them. For me, USC, I mean, like, here's the thing. I'm going to pick USC to go first, but I don't know if it's 100% on that one because I think, like, they weren't even first in the conference last season, right? Who won it last? It was Penn State, right?
I think they took it.
It was,
Either
I
Michigan
mean,
or it
at
was
It was
the top, it
Michigan.
Michigan.
was Michigan.
It was
Yeah,
Michigan.
They were
yeah.
9-2.
Travis didn't get it.
Yeah. So I think USC definitely can, and in fact will probably be a favorite to repeat. But I don't like. I have a feeling it's gonna be like something like Penn State won USC 2 or Michigan won USC 2. But for now, I think USC is the most consistent, easy choice. I'll make USC 1. Um, man, this is really tough. Because
Mhm.
I could easily see a team like say Ohio State or Michigan coming up or Michigan State. Um, I'm gonna be a little bit of a homer. I'll say Michigan State makes the playoffs. I say, yeah, I'll pick
Amen.
Ohio State and Michigan, but that means like I think Penn State could be a 5th seed from the Big 12. Like I think all 5 of them. will make the playoffs, and that leaves what? It leaves Oregon, who just had the best rushing offense of the last 5 seasons last season. And I think we are sleeping a little bit on Oregon. And that's maybe because we played them; they ran for 300 yards against us, but um,
Well, that's why I said I think this conference with the
yeah,
shift and everything and the balancing out of the other teams in this conference, this this could be the conference to watch with the most drama. You know what I mean?
I you know
Yes.
there's 4 wild card spots. I'm just gonna say it. I think it's very possible that 3 of the 4 wild card spots are Big Ten teams this season. That's how deep I think this conference is going to be. Um, Now we'll see if the voters agree with me, but
It's tough.
yeah, I could easily see that being the case. Um, but yeah, I mean, I agree with you guys as well. Maybe the most entertaining conference in the country too, just because of the teams we're going to see there. I'm going to move to the Big 12. Again, no more ADs from this conference. And actually, I'm going to let Drake start again because I know for the SEC, which is after this, we're going to talk about. We're going to have both Adam and Tiny with their opinions and their SEC ADs, obviously. So, Drake, I will give you the floor again. The Big 12, put you on the spot. What do you think about that conference?
Okay. Well, with LSU coming in, that's more talent over there. I mean, of course we knew. Well, I sort of knew Texas had the upper hand last season. West Virginia came through and did their thing, and Gunnar Rice showed out. You know, it was beautiful to watch. Um, I actually wasn't wasn't paying attention this off season to them. Texas, of course, they I would take them first with the offense they got going on, and the way Ryan got the team, build up the team, and that quarterback out there throwing the way he throwing, he did real good. I think last season than the season before. LSU, I'm thinking they're gonna take second. I like what Bav's been doing. You know, he's not rebuilding. He just putting more into it from what he lost. You know, think what Cohane over there. They got him some weapons. He gonna throw. It's gonna be nice. I'm gonna go with West Virginia. I love what they're doing over there. Gunnar Rice just gonna get better and better, and the talent around him. Um, Colorado. I mean, he's building that team. Skyballer building that team up, and I love the run. I love the running back. That guy is awesome. Taylor, right? James Taylor. He's a bad man. You can't count them out. They had a little high predictions last year. I don't know if they met them, but I believe they're going to do a whole lot better. They got Thomas Banks, who's an awesome guy. Coached him over at Illinois. He's a problem. He's definitely a problem. He was All American that year when Illinois went 8-0. I'm thinking he going back to All American this year. With that being said, them 4 teams, Texas A&M still rebuilding. They trying to get up. They was bottom in scoring and defense. They did real good on defense. I mean, Cade has went out and got some good players, even though he lost Schultz. The secondary seems to be better than last season. So I commend them on that. So I say Texas A&M fifth. And who's sixth? See, I haven't been
Put
paying attention.
Oklahoma would probably put it 6.
Oklahoma, yeah.
Oklahoma,
I would
yeah.
say Oklahoma just 'cause,
Oklahoma rebuilding. They don't have as much talent in depth. So, you got to go. But I will say this: DT Hall is a great AD. He pulls out wins, so you never know who he's gonna upset. You feel me? But I go in that order right there. And if things go right, LSU might be number 1 over there.
So yeah, I'll almost interject here, Drake, because it's very interesting. Again, I feel like I'm close to where you're at, but there's some, you're calling Texas A&M a rebuilding team while they beat your ass pretty good. Week 1
One
last
game,
year.
1 point.
And I can say that too because I was the quarterback that got my ass kicked too, so it's not a huge deal to
Hey,
call it
K.
that. But
Patrick with that darn kick return that killed us. Oh my God, that touchdown was just
hey, guess who we played week
devastating.
1? Great work to call him a rebuilding team, AD. Good work, good work.
I'm
Oh
gonna have to hear
man.
that.
Yeah, no, well, that's your comment, not mine, and it gets us views, so I don't give a shit. Um,
Amen.
so I mean, I'm gonna just put it out there. I think Texas is a very good team. They've obviously dominated the conference. It's been a top-heavy conference for a few seasons now. I do think there's a little bit of change in that. I don't think this conference is as deep as the Big Ten, but if I had to choose, and I will go ahead and just make my predictions here a little quickly, I think LSU wins this. I think this is an LSU. They're going to come from the SEC, and I think they are going to not have an adjustment. They are going to dominate with Sean Cohane, with Nos Mason, with a few of the 5 stars that transferred over, and a great recruiting class. I think Texas makes it a two-way race. I think this is a two-way race between Texas and LSU. Um, but I think those two are pretty much locked in as the top two. Like I can't see a team like West Virginia, though it's certainly possible. I don't think they will get into that top two, that important top two spot in the conference. I think the third spot's gonna be a lot more interesting though, because it could be West Virginia, it could be Texas A&M. You know, you talked about it, Drake. It definitely could be Oklahoma. My only issue with
Colorado.
Oklahoma, and it's the same issue I had with Dustin Hall at Notre Dame, is that he doesn't have a whole bunch of depth on the roster. His game planning is some of the best in the league. Like I don't think I think there's maybe 3 or 4 ADs in this league who can game plan better than Dustin, and I don't know who they are. He's maybe the best game planner, period. I don't know about the depth. That's the only concern I have with Oklahoma, and it's a similar concern for I believe it was um, West Virginia. Yeah,
Colorado.
it is. And Colorado is also a factor there. I think Colorado easily is another underlooked, undervalued team, undervalued stock by Colorado stock because they're big talkers in chat, but they've slowly been improving. I could easily see them getting that third spot, or if they do have a fourth vote in spot, which is certainly possible, they get a wild card spot. I could see Colorado being that team too. Um, so yeah, I'll move on from there. Tiny, I'll let you go first this time.
Uh, I mean, you guys, I don't like really parroting, uh, just beating down. Yeah, you got Texas, LSU. I mean, it's a race for the first for them, and then
It
everyone else.
also doesn't help that I've put you last like
Yeah,
twice in a row.
yeah, the third time.
You're before Adam. I fixed
I
Adam
haven't
Oh,
already.
heard
that's
yet.
fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
But I mean, you guys just go in depth, and I mean, I mean, all the talking points have been hit. Yeah, I mean, Texas and LSU. I mean, those are obviously favorites out of the off season, and I mean, I mean, Skyballer, what he has over at Colorado. I mean, he hasn't really been in chat that much. I mean, I think he's like working his actual job, but he's also putting in work recruiting, and I mean, he's got a good class. So I wouldn't be surprised if they made an argument for the number 2 spot. Maybe. I mean, it's just I know with some of the talent that he has, it's it might be a sleeper. He might be the sleeper in the Big 12.
Here's my thing with Colorado, and I agree with you. They absolutely could be a dark horse team. I know their game planning is pretty good. I think I don't know if Scott has won a championship, but I know he's been a very very good AD in the early days of the CFSL. And I know that he is a very good recruiter. Um, my only concern, well, I have two. The first one is depth, obviously, but the second one is they just have not shown it on the field yet. Colorado's been okay, not great. Um, they have not been able to win against tougher competition, even within the Big 12, which is, I think, universally seen as one of the weaker conferences the last few seasons. So I think they can make that next step. I think there's some expectations in Boulder to make that next step this year, but I just haven't seen it yet. That's my only concern there. But certainly I agree with you. And Adam, last but not least, any thoughts?
Yeah, I think we are all going to be sick and tired by the end of the season of hearing Texas is back.
Oh my God.
I mean, because Ryan reloaded that roster and he reloaded it fast. I mean, when they locked it out, they didn't have a roster spot left, and it was 5 and 4 stars and a couple depth pieces here and there. So I think LSU coming over there is the only thing that was going to create some kind of parity in that division there, because Texas, outside of LSU coming over, Texas is going to own it. So LSU is going to give them a fight for that. I just think that Texas roster is, I think it's a little too overwhelming. I got LSU second, and I'm so torn on the third spot just because, I know what West Virginia can do. And between West Virginia and Colorado, I'm just, I've seen flashes where you could beat any team in your division. The problem is I don't see it again the next week. You get a very hot and cold performances from both of those teams from week to week. And until they can get some consistency out of the game planning and the production from those game plans, it's going to be tough for them to contend for that number one, number two spot against a Texas and an LSU. But they do have the talent and the ability. They've shown the ability to do it. So, like I said, if they can start putting together some consistent gameplay from week to week, they've got a chance to be real contenders in there. And I think that third playoff spot will be between those two teams.
Yeah, I think we're very much in agreement. Well, I guess first place we're not agreeing there because I think LSU is going to take down Texas. That's my pick. Though to be fair, we were talking about the Texas is back slogan. That might come back to haunt us in the CFSL Chaos Quiz. I don't want to spoil too much, but I will inform you guys that Texas did in fact win the Chaos Quiz last week, so be ready. Um, but yeah, no, I LSU and Texas, whether you agree it's going to be Texas in first or LSU in first, I think we're all in agreement that is the top two. And I think the biggest storyline in the Big 12 is going to be who gets that number 3 spot right now. Um, so it should be a lot of fun. I'm not sure if there's too much to say besides that. I think what's Texas going to be like their third straight Big 12 championship if they win this season. Let me check that.
Yeah, I think so. Because
Yeah, it'd be their third straight.
because I think Beard did it the season before.
Yep.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, so Texas had not won the Big 10 or Big 12, excuse me, since season 14. They've now won it 19-20 and are looking to win it in 21. They have not won back-to-back season championships since season 5, season 6, but now obviously they have and are looking for their first ever three-peat conference championship in team history. And there's very few teams that have done that, period. And in the CFSL, I think maybe Oregon did it, and I think Notre Dame probably did it, or Oklahoma State and Kentucky.
Oklahoma State did it.
Yeah. Very, very rare to do it just in general. And Oklahoma State, was it the Big 10 they did it in, or was it the Big 12, Adam?
It was the Big Ten. Once they realigned it.
Yeah.
Our second one, I think, was Ohio State, and then they stopped doing it the
Yeah,
season
no,
after that.
it was very, very close. So I think,
Which I would love for them to bring back those conference championship games.
oh man, I didn't even think, because the other part of it is now that we have the top two teams are seeded that way, right? Like Michigan was the 2 seed last season for winning the Big
Yeah,
10.
you got to battle for it. That would be
I
awesome.
think that is definitely a suggestion. And I understand, it's more games to put on, and you have a week more of the season you have to take off or whatever. But man, would that be a cool addition if we had the space for it, for sure. And the broadcasters, everything else.
Absolutely.
Okay. And so we have gotten through 3 conferences. Now, 2 of our guests would like to very much, I'm sure, talk about this last conference. Man, I don't even know really where to start with the SEC because there's a lot of change, obviously, but then this is not the SEC of a few seasons ago where Kentucky just ran through the conference and won a few championships. They're still here, but it's just such a different conference. And Tiny, you've been going in the back of the line to talk here for a while. I'll start with you. Um, just yeah, start off with Tennessee, I guess, and then go from there.
I mean, we we got a couple weapons, and I say a couple. I mean, we probably snagged one of the top uh, receiver transfers in A Shepherd. Big weapon for Vertigo for sure. But I mean, I'll be happy if we get. I mean, I'm aiming for going 500. I mean, that's gonna be my base thing. I mean, we're not gonna be. I mean, where yeah, I posted in league chat earlier about an hour ago. They released a WWE Championship belt for Tennessee, and I was like, anybody want to spot me $600? Where it did say that if I did go undefeated, he'll buy it for me. So I'm aiming for that. I doubt it will happen. Not that good. Well, not that it's not that we're not that good. We're just not deep in talent. We have talent, just not depth. Um, so I think we're going to be at the bottom, definitely the bottom three. But those top three spots, I mean, Auburn, I mean, Beard, yeah, I think he's just going to keep on trucking, even though he did lose a pretty good coach in Wetzel. But the number two spot, I'm probably going to be Kentucky. And I'll tell you why. Kentucky didn't lose anyone from last season.
They
Not
they
no.
lost one
Well, I mean, a graduate,
technically.
right?
Yeah, it was like
Yeah.
well, no, it wasn't even a graduate. I think they must have ghosted someone
Did they?
because they signed one recruit. So I think by rule they had to have lost at least one guy.
Let's see.
They signed a
Um.
three-star.
Oh
I get
yeah,
what you're
they
saying. Yeah,
they they
continue.
lost. Yeah, they lost. They ghosted a safety. So yeah, So I mean, they ghosted a safety. They signed someone. I mean, no one left. No one transferred out. I don't believe. I think Davis just is sitting back, trying to fly under the radar. I see him. I know what he's doing. I know what he can do. I mean, ever since Kentucky came into the league, I'm pretty sure they've only missed the playoffs one time, two times. I mean, it's crazy. And I want to put him at 2 and then Alabama at 3. Maybe you can swap those two out, Alabama and Kentucky. And then probably, you know, how I rated it, uh, you know, Auburn, Kentucky, or Alabama. You can interchange those, and then probably Florida. I mean, just because what you did, last season with what little you had at the beginning, I mean, shows you are, and plus what you've done at OK State, you know how to game plan because you're not you're no slouch. I mean, and then Georgia. I mean, it's just hard. That puts me at the bottom. So it's just gonna be an interesting season how it plays out.
And I will go to Adam real quick here in a minute. But Tiny, who's your non-conference again? First three
I
weeks.
have Notre Dame,
Michigan State.
Michigan State. Yeah, I can't forget about you, and I believe Colorado.
Okay. Yeah. No, I know we play you guys, but um, I think. Well, I'll say my thoughts for a minute here because I want to see what Adam thinks. But I
Yeah, I
don't
think
think
it's
you guys go 0
Colorado.
8 for the record. Not again. Let me
No,
move it over to
I
Adam.
don't want to.
No, no. Yeah, we need to get past that meme. Go ahead, Adam.
Well, I mean, just because of Auburn did lose. I mean, they lost more than Wetzel th- this this off season. So I think Auburn takes a step down. I think Kentucky goes back to being the top dog in the SEC again, just because it's Davis, and a quiet Davis makes me nervous.
Yes.
But for the number 2 spot, I think Auburn's still there. I think they've still got quite a few weapons. So I mean, they're not going to be any pushover team for whoever plays them. And then Alabama, I mean, they've done decent, but they lost some talent too, and the reloading just hasn't. I know just from talking with Ware, it hasn't quite gone as well as he was hoping for it to. So I don't quite know where Alabama's sitting right now. So I say, from from 3 to 6 is a toss up. Georgia could, come out. Any of those teams, they've all got question marks right now. Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, we've all got question marks by our name. I think the only 2 teams in the SEC that ain't got no question mark, Kentucky and Auburn. So I'm interested to see how the bottom end of this
Yeah.
shapes out.
So when I was AD at Auburn, um, Adam, I would agree with you that it was a lot closer. I think there was a little bit more of a difference between the number 1 and the number 6 team in this conference compared to a few seasons ago. You first before I even get into my predictions, and I'll go and I'll let Drake go after me. But um, I was just looking at this because this is for the next segment. In terms of passing yards, the single season passing yard record, I think this kind of encapsulates the SEC pretty well. Of the top 8 passing seasons in CFSL history, 7 of them, with the exception of number 4 Ryan Moreland in season 16 for Oklahoma State. Shout out to you, Adam. Um, they're all from the SEC. Season 20, Jay Duke is obviously this past season the best passing season in history, but um, this conference is insane and a bloodbath every season. So I know whatever I'm going to choose here, it doesn't really matter. Here's my thoughts. I think I agree with you that it's quite literally impossible for Auburn to have a better season offensively than they had last season. I do think they'd step back, if only a little bit, because I think it's almost impossible for
Yeah,
them
the
to do
bar
better.
was so high.
Yeah,
Um,
for real. 6,000 yards.
Yeah,
now watch for
that
him
bar
throw for
was that's so
6,500,
high.
but
Well, I
you
mean, they did switch their playbook halfway through the season. After
yeah,
after they played me, whenever they so what I was told, whenever they were game planning for me, they were like, "Oh, I really like the Old Dominion playbook," and then they took it after I dropped it, even though they could have just taken it. They didn't have to wait for me to drop it.
that's the mind games of an AD that I am no longer qualified to try to answer. But here's what I'm going to say on this. I was obviously at Hangout calling the national championship Auburn versus USC. Auburn, again, if you guys recall, had a very large contingent there. I think it was like 7 of them, 8 if you count me, at the same table, all going for the same team. And, USC won that game. And congratulations to them. They won it fair and square. The look I saw on that table, and especially Beard's face, Justin's face, um, I think Auburn is going to go on a warpath here. I'm going to pick Kentucky to win because I can't see Auburn doing 8-0 again. As much as I would love it, obviously, as the former AD, I don't know if it's quite at that level with the talent they have. They certainly could, for the record, but they have a much tougher schedule this season. They're going to have to face, an SEC that knows a lot of what they're doing now. My choice, I would agree. I think Kentucky's number 1. I would put Auburn number 2, and I put Alabama right there, number 3. I think the number 1 regular season game this year to watch is going to be the Iron Bowl. Like, just the fact that Auburn won it in the way they did last season after so many years of Alabama, crushing that game. I think the Iron Bowl this season, like, I'm going to try my absolute hardest to get on that call because I think it's going to be one of the most fun, important, craziest games. That has the potential of Florida, Miami of a few seasons. It's actually more than a few seasons ago, but um, that's my choice. Kentucky 1, Auburn 2, Alabama 3. And then from there, I think it really is a toss-up. I know a lot of those teams as well, below those 3 are playoff contenders. mean, let's just go through them, right? Let's take a look. I can't see. I don't know, because like Georgia is one of those teams we just haven't heard a lot from them. We haven't talked a lot about them, but I think they can be a big factor. Like I easily could see them getting a wild card spot and making a run, like they've done in their history before. Um, Florida and Tennessee, this is where it really gets interesting. Adam and Tiny are in here, and I apologize for putting you guys 5 and 6, but for Florida, we have to see more of the talent there. Obviously, you got a lot of it, but we have to see how it meshes. And Tennessee, I mean, you gotta take that next step, basically. I think Tennessee wins more than, well, I say Tennessee's over-unders too. I think they win at least one of their non-conference games. I don't think they beat us before you ask Tiny, but I think you beat one of the other two teams on your non-conference. Um, and like, for example, Colorado, if you can beat Colorado, that'd be such a huge win for your program.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you do win one conference game this year. I'm not saying necessarily it's Florida, but I think you do take somebody down, and I
I
cannot
mean,
wait to see it.
last season, how I see it, and what one of my major recruiting pitches was, I'm honest with them. I'm gonna give a little like feedback. Like, look, my defense was literally the worst ranked defense in the league overall wise, and I was in every game that I shouldn't have been in. And when I say in, I mean within 3 scores. I mean that's in for me. Uh, and with the talent that I had, and then I was in every game. I never got mercied, uh, and that I went into overtime with Georgia, and I didn't see that happening. I'm gonna be real. I can run 6 sims with the settings that I had, and I was like, you know what? If we get close, then I'm happy, and then we get into overtime. It's fantastic. Now that I have an actual coordinator with me that can run sims with me, and we can bounce out ideas off of each other, it's just I'm thankful for new guys that want to learn. I mean, this guy he came in asking the right questions, and he was going to go to Auburn, but then I mentioned, hey, like he asked questions about being a coach, and I was like, yeah, you just need this, this, and this. I mean, we're usually start you out at recruiting coordinator. I mean, if you have revamped, that's even better. He goes, I have revamped, and I was like, so hey, you want my offense coordinator spot?
I remember those conversations, especially early in my career as an AD. Yeah.
I
Um,
mean, it
yeah.
was just like he was like, oh yeah, like if you look back at his like top schools, it went from me not being in there and me going like, "Hey, are you sure there's nothing that I can do offer you to change your mind?" And he goes, "No, not really." And I was like, "You said you had revamped, right?" Well, how about this? And he goes, "Well, yeah, now that this." And then also he was like a different or a certain defensive scheme, and I was like, "If we have you, we can run that." Like it's just like I don't have depth to run anything else. But if we add you to that depth, it changes things. And he goes, "Oh yeah, I'm definitely adding you." And then he added me back into his top teams, and that should have been a sign that to everyone it's like, "Oh well, shit, Tennessee's saying something right."
Well, yeah. Oh man, we could do an entire podcast on top schools and the chaos that is recruiting. We kind of did it a few weeks ago during recruiting, but that's one of the ideas I've bounced around is just having like a story time about recruiting podcast and talk about all the shit people talk and all the fun we have with that. Um, but yeah, no, definitely. Good luck to you guys. I think Tennessee is much better than when you got there, and that's really the goal, right, of any AD.
Yeah,
Obviously,
100%.
I don't think you're a playoff team this
Oh,
season,
nope.
but the building blocks are there, and that's a big
Oh yeah,
improvement from before.
definitely.
I mean, God willing, I have Verdugo and A Shepherd for 3 seasons, and if I can build on that receiving core with the two that I already have, and Evan Browand and Dusty James, who was they're 3 stars, and but like what some people they cast 3 stars off. 3 stars are important too. Those two, the
Oh yeah.
past 2 seasons, they were my leading receivers. I know that doesn't really say anything. I want 1 in 15, but like Dusty James had the most receiving yards out of anybody, and I had Matt Cavett and uh, Darian Hall, and those two receivers were stout. They could have broken records at any other place, but they decided to stay with Tennessee. I'm just repeating stuff that I've already told you, Cole, in the interview. Breaking the record, but like a broken record. But like Evan Browen, he was my leading. He caught most passes out of anybody, and he was like, "Oh, I want to transfer." And like the season before, I want to transfer, and I was like, "I'm going to be real. You have a better shot at getting more receptions and more yards here at Tennessee than any other place because that's the type of offense I run." All of my receivers last season had over 300 yards receiving. I spread the love.
Yeah, so we're running a little bit low on time here, but I would agree on that as well. As giving those guys the opportunity can be such a, and once you give that 3-star the opportunity, then they upgrade, and look at that. You got
Absolutely.
a 4 or 5-star.
Oh yeah.
Drake, your thoughts quickly?
All right, my thoughts quickly. I'm gonna say this because I like, even though he didn't get what he wanted, I still like the team. Even though they lost their best running back, All American, I picked Alabama to win it all over in the SEC.
All right, I'm just
Listen,
answering.
I picked Alabama. Huh? I think Alabama gonna win the conference. Now, I also think Auburn gonna do good. Not as good, but they'll be second. Kentucky third. Now, I'm gonna go with these bottom three. Georgia has a problem with depth. I don't know. Does Florida have more this season than Georgia?
I mean, that's maybe a question for Adam, but
Yeah,
Adam?
we didn't really lose a whole lot. We plugged some holes that we had, and Georgia lost some key positions.
Oh, you
Congratulations.
did awesome on them top players that came in. Definitely, I was trying to a wide receiver, a cornerback that you got eventually, and I was like, wow, okay, they making moves. Quick thing. Back in the days when Georgia came in, they had a running back called Garcia. He was a 4-star, but he ran hard. And King reminds me of him. But the next season, they went and got Toby Kinnear, and Garcia went and faded out, and they threw more. I'm saying, I love to run. I am not going to lie, but this league is passing. King is a workhorse. I love him. So, just because of the depth thing, I will say Florida fourth, and not really sturdy because of Tennessee and Georgia. I love them. It can switch. It's going to be tough games with all three of you all. Vertigo, saying it right?
I agree.
Tiny, what's
Say
his
that
name?
again?
yeah, Vertigo, yeah.
Yeah, Vertigo.
What's Vertigo? Okay, listen, I'm already having nightmares about this guy. This guy showed off last season. Huh?
Vertigo.
Listen, Verdugo, he showed off last season, and I was rooting for him. I'm not gonna lie. This guy threw with the best of them, and for him to get a 5-star tight end and ace, who we went after hard, week 2 is gonna be a game, and I'm not even saying. I mean, our defense has to be ready. I love all you doing, man. Keep it up. Keep fighting. And between you, Georgia, and Florida, I'm gonna watch your all. Especially
So, Drake, thank you for that. I now know what the podcast this week is going to be named, and it's going to be great for people to be like, "Why did we name it Vertigo?"
but but I believe Alabama, Auburn, Kentucky. I would say Florida, and fight between Georgia and Tennessee.
I mean, I'll say this for you, Drake. If Tennessee is, whether it's Georgia or Florida or somebody else, if Tennessee is not the last place team in the SEC this year, I think that's a win for Tiny and his program. I think that's pretty obvious to say.
Absolutely.
If you can move up just one spot this year, just show that you're not, the bottom of the SEC anymore. I think that's a successful season. Even if you only win a few games, I think the building blocks, as we talked about, are in place. So good luck to you,
Yeah.
Tiny, and good luck for the rest of the teams this season. That was actually almost exactly an hour, just to preview everything, which is pretty good. I thought it would take a little longer. We got some time here. So before we do the chaos quiz, I will ask you guys real quickly any records you guys were looking at. So it could be single game, single season, career records, school records. Anyone have anything they want to add in before we move on to the chaos quiz?
Well, us being a new team, second season in, um,
No, Michigan
I,
State. You
I,
cannot. No, I'm not counting those. Go ahead, but that's, yeah,
okay, we can't
no.
say that. Okay,
Okay, oh yeah, no shit. I'm not gonna throw. What is it? 11 touchdowns again? 13 whatever the horrible number it was. It better not.
no, I'm gonna say this. Last season, I said I wanted one game, but we was in a couple more games where could have gone our way. So I'm gonna just say this easy: 2 games or more for MSU.
Fucker. All right. Anyone else have any better record predictions besides? Yeah, I better hope we win more than 2 games.
I know, right?
Damn it, Drake. Go ahead, Tiny.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm looking for Vertigo to break his passing attempt record that he set last season.
That could be
Ooh,
a see. There you go, Drake. That's how you vote for your team without being dumb.
I mean, he threw for 536 times.
yes.
Yeah.
The only difference, I'm gonna make up for those 40 drop passes last season, and make sure that it's above 70% percentage.
I mean,
Awesome.
that's a
That
good point. Yeah. For those listening and not on the website, Tennessee single season passing attempt records. Number one is Dewey Ainge from season 4, 549. Verdugo in second place, 536. Kel Miller from season 2, 522. Dewey Ainge, season 3, 438. And then Kyson Carey, underrated name in the CFSL, 402. So I think I would agree with you on that one. I think 549 is an easy record to break if you know what you're doing.
Yep.
Oh, Antonio McDaniel not in there?
Well, that's for
That's for
Tennessee.
Tennessee. You didn't play for Tennessee.
Oh, okay,
The
okay. I thought he was.
number 23 ranked recruit of his class.
Oh yeah. Was that Ryan who put those out or where?
Well, first he was number 1, like initial. I remember this because I made a graphic on it,
Yeah.
and
Go
then he
ahead.
got after the I think after the All American games before the season started, a new ranking came out, and he got bumped down to 23rd
Oh no. Yeah, I didn't know that.
or something. It was like in the 20s, and I was like, "Ooh, I have to meme this."
Oop. Come on, Drake.
Okay,
You mute
Drake's
that.
on his way to murder me.
I can mute him. It's all good. That's the coolest thing about this program is I can just mute people for fun.
Yeah. I
Uh,
think you're gonna see a lot of quarterbacks in that high passing yards thing. It's not gonna be a walk away thing with who's the best passer in the league this season. Because, you're not gonna have just one or two guys that you can debate with that. You're going to have quite a few quarterbacks out here just slinging the ball.
well, after Auburn last season, there's definitely people want to what's it called? People are definitely looking to try to emulate that, I think. And it was very close. Even last season with Jay Duke in his season that he had, Gunnar Rice won some awards. What's his Jameson Gold at USC. Yeah,
They said North
there's
Carolina.
definitely a lot of. I would agree with you on that, Adam. There's a lot of room there for some team records to be broken, and obviously a lot of passing. You good,
I
Drake?
think you see quite a few team passing records get smashed this season. I don't think the all-time one does because that's just insane, anyways.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there's a lot of team passing records that get smashed this season.
Yeah, I think the what do you want to call it? The shine of trying to run more has worn off uh after the lineman kind of got buffed and the D lineman got nerfed. And I think we're just going to go back to a passing league.
Well, I think now there's the opportunity to run. Just because there's the opportunity, though, that doesn't mean people are going to run. Like Oregon last season, they have a model of not only winning, but winning with less pure talent on the roster. Like they didn't have great wide receivers at the start. They added some great ones after. Um, and so I think there's now more ways to win. I still think, yeah, you're right, Tiny. It's gonna be a pass-heavy league, but I do think there's gonna be at least one or two teams besides Oregon that try the running attack. Obviously, I was a pure passer, AD, so rich
And
for me to say that.
I don't think you have as many back secondaries
That's
either.
true
I think
too.
that's
Yeah,
going to play a big part of it. I'm not saying that you're not still going to see balanced attacks and things like that, but I don't think the secondary on the opposition is going to be quite what it's been the last few seasons.
yeah, yeah. No, that's a good point to add in. All right, so I'm gonna actually just note it here. We got through about just a little like 65, 66 minutes. Let's see, yeah, we'll put that in there. But I keep the notes here just for the reference, and this is a good point. I was going to talk a little bit about the show itself. I think I'm going to save that until after the quiz. But I do have some numbers from the first month of the Cole Mantell Show just to, kind of put it out there. I will put that out. Oop, and we lost somebody. Oop. Right as okay, so maybe I will talk about the show real quick while we get
Drake.
Drake back in here.
There he is.
Yep. You good, Drake?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, you disconnected for a second. I muted you because you had some background noise, but you good now?
Yeah, I'm good. I just had to come in and put it on the chart.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. Um, all right. So you guys got the rules because y'all, all three of you are new to the podcast. So I made sure to give you the rules. We'll go over the rules very quickly for the chaos quiz here. Let's start with, yeah, the first player to 3 points wins. You get 1 point for correctly answering the question first. The first person to buzz in gets the first shot at the question. The buzzer is each person's name. I have the discretion to, figure that out. So for this, Adam, you just want to be Adam, I assume.
Yeah, that's fine.
Drake, I'm just gonna use Drake instead of Antonio McDaniel.
All right.
So you just gotta say Drake instead of anything else. Um, and then Tiny. See, we could use CJ or Tiny. You want to just do Tiny this week?
Yeah, just tiny.
That works. Okay. So you guys again will say that when you want to answer. You cannot buzz in until I finish reading out the question and say go. Any player who buzzes in early loses the right to answer that question. Do not be like Moochie or Colton and lose your right to answer a question you clearly know. Um, and this came up last week as well. When called upon, if a player says the wrong answer, they cannot try again until each other player has attempted to guess. So we had this come up last week where Pyro, Orndorff, he when he didn't know that the answer was one of the questions, so we had to sit there for a good 30 seconds while we waited for him to answer. So that's just something a strategy you can use. If you're the third person and the other two people are get it wrong, you can sit there and look up the answer, and that works. Um, so just be aware of that rule because I think it was a little confusing last week. Um, Rule 5, a contestant may say stop after Cole says go once per question for a rule. So basically, like if Drake loses connection midway through the question, I'll say stop just so we can get him back in here. Or if like a player didn't hear the question, he needs me to repeat it because of internet issues. I know we've had a little bit of that today. You can just say stop and I'll repeat the question. Otherwise, however, I will only say the question once. That's the other rule. I think it's rule 6. Yeah. I will only say the question once, assuming that we don't need to stop the question. And then finally, Rule 7, the prize for winning the game is the ability to change one rule of this game for the next week. The winner's team is 48 hours after the podcast, so you guys have to go to your locker rooms and ask to come up with and submit a new rule for each game. Rules can subtract other rules. A great example is Texas. They won last week. They subtracted the USC's rule. We'll get to that in a minute. I have veto power over rules that affect game integrity. So basically, you can't be like, "Yeah, a Texas player wins every game." You can't do that. It must be like within the spirit of the rules. But I've been pretty lenient so far. If a player is not at the team at the time of their win, they get to make a new rule for themselves. But all three of you are going to be representing different teams. Adam, you're representing Florida. Tiny, you are representing Tennessee, and Drake, you are representing Michigan State. Are you guys ready? You have any questions before I get into the actual game?
Ready.
I'm ready.
All good? All right, so here are the rules that are in effect from podcast number 1. Instead of saying go, I must now say roll tide. And instead of stop, I must say war eagle. However, that was Alabama's rule. Instead, on podcast number 2, that was changed. So now, Cole, I must say war eagle instead of go when we go, but stop is returned to its original form. So when I say a question, I'm going to say war eagle, and you guys can say your names after to answer the question. Podcast number 3, for a player's answer to count for a point, they must begin their answer with "This is such a great opportunity." That was from USC. However, last week in podcast number 5, they changed it from podcast number 3. Instead, now the player must begin each answer with "Texas is back" for the answer to count. So again, if you have the answer correct, you must begin your answer with "Texas is back." You can thank Colton for that one. I had a feeling that was going to be like, even when he won, I had a feeling that was going to be the rule because that's what Texas likes to do. But all right, any questions? Because I'm not going to answer the questions once the game starts, basically.
So in order to answer, we have to say Texas is back
before you say the answer.
Before,
yes,
okay.
You'll say Tiny, and I'll say go ahead, Tiny, and then you'll say Texas is back. The answer is 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
And you guys, like, when I say the question, if I say, like, you don't have to stop for me. Like, if I start talking, you can still say your answer while I'm talking. I'll say something like, like if Tiny and Drake both say at the same time, I'll be like Tiny first, then Drake second. While I'm saying that, Adam, you are more than free to call in Adam whenever. That was a question that was brought up last week as well. Okay, you guys ready?
Yep.
Ready.
Okay, so we're gonna get this game started. This should be a lot of fun. See, there's a lot of these are record questions too. So I'll just say you should have the CFSL website up and ready to go. Let's see which one I want to go first with. Ooh, this is a good one. I'll start with this one. All right. Here's the question. Who are the only 2 players to ever fumble 4 times in a single CFSL game? Go. Or War Eagle. Nothing yet. I think you guys are all going to the website. It is on the
Tiny.
website, I will say that.
Tiny.
Go ahead, Tiny.
Texas is back. Lyle Fletcher, Justin Morris Jr.
That is correct. So 1 point, first point is going to go to Tiny. And I got to actually write down the scores here. I forgot to do that. Tiny, Drake, Adam. So Tiny gets the first point. And fun fact about this one is that it's both from the same team, Iowa, back-to-back seasons, season 13 and 14. I thought that was kind of hilarious to put in a question. So that should be a good point for you. And again, 3 points to win. You guys ready for the next question?
Let's go.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, this question, shout out to Drake. Here's the question. Antonio McDaniel holds the single game pass completion record, 72 in a season 15 contest versus Michigan. Since then, who are the only 2 quarterbacks to complete 60 or more passes in a game? War Eagle.
Tiny.
Go ahead, Tiny.
Texas is back. Ludwig Freeman in season 18 and Sterling Vertigo last season.
Good work. That is correct. I thought I would include that one because it has a Michigan State guy and a Tennessee guy, and you were right on the ball, Tiny. So, Tiny, you can win if you get this question right. I think Adam and Drake both want to get on the board. I'm gonna see which one can I use here. I had Michigan State in a question. I had Tennessee. Do I have any Florida questions here? I don't know. No, I don't know if I have any Florida questions this week. Oh, this should be a fun one. All right. Here's the third question, maybe for the win if Tiny can get this one. Here's the question. Using the current conference alignments and not counting defunct teams, what was the last season a current Big Ten team won the Team Spirit Award? War Eagle. Adam, was that you?
Yeah. Texas is back. Was it Oklahoma State in 16?
Wrong, because I'm using the current alignment.
Drake,
Go ahead, Drake.
Texas is back. Was it USC?
What season?
19?
Wrong. So, well, I'll let Tiny answer here if he wants.
Tiny.
Go ahead.
Texas is back. I'm gonna say Notre Dame season 12.
Wrong. They're in the ACC right now. So I'll read the
Oh,
question
that's
out
right.
again. I'll read the answer out again, or the question out, because you guys are all close. So I expect it's going to go pretty quickly here. Using the current conference alignments and not counting defunct teams. So what the conferences are currently in the CFSL
Oh,
and not counting defunct teams. What was the last season, not the last team, what was the last season a current Big Ten team won the Team Spirit Award? War
Tiny.
Eagle. Go ahead, Tiny.
Season 6. Oh no!
That's it. You got it. That's
But
season
I didn't
6.
say Texas is back.
No, you didn't. Anyone else?
Adam.
Drake.
Adam, go ahead.
Texas is back. Season 6.
There you go. The win.
Damn
Yeah,
it!
wait, one more question. I didn't realize that too. That's the second time I missed that too. Thank you, guys. If I miss a rule like that, you guys are free to interject too, because I should have had that. Oh man,
Ugh,
Tiny, you had it.
I did.
Oh my goodness. I mean, you still can win it here. All right, I got another question for you, and this one because some of you have not watched the podcast, I think are just gonna guess, but it's gonna be fun. Here's the question, including this edition of the Cole Mantell Show. This is the 6th podcast, just for reference. How many times have all 3 of Cole's guests been current CFSL ADs? That does not count me, obviously, because I'm no longer an AD, but the 3 guests. How many times have all 3 of Cole's guests been the current CFSL AD? War Eagle. Is that Adam?
Yeah.
You're a little bit low, Adam.
Texas is back. 3? Just take
Bingo. Nope. 3. Oh boy. Oh, the generational choke here for Tiny if he can't get this next question. 2 points for Adam, 2 points for Tiny. And by the way, for those wondering, obviously this time we have all 3 guests being current ADs of Florida, Michigan State, and Tennessee. We had that on podcast, I believe. Yeah, podcast number 4, we had Notre Dame, Clemson, and Texas as AD. And then I believe it was podcast number 2. Yeah, we had Virginia Tech, Georgia, and Auburn's AD. So this is the 3rd time we've had 3 ADs be current guests on the show. Oh man. So either Adam or Tiny could win here, or Drake could try to be a spoiler and try not to go home without a point. Ooh. This is really fun. All right, this one, I feel bad for the player who's the answer to this question, but I want to put it in here because it might be for the win. So for the win, here's the question. Who is the only player to drop 10 passes in a game? War Eagle.
Tiny.
Go ahead, Tiny, for the win.
Texas is back. Gage Tyson of Texas. No, it says Clemson. It's his. That's who he was last. But Gage Tyson.
The good news is I'm not asking for the team. I'm just asking for the player. Tiny, you get the point. You win. You avoid the choke. Gage Tyson, he was out on Clemson, season 19 and a 56-0 loss to Miami. So his team lost 56-0 and he dropped 10 catches in the game. I feel so bad. I'm so sorry to Wetzel and his team that he just took over. But Tiny, you do get the win. How do you feel?
I know what rule I'm gonna change.
Oh man. So here's the rule, Tiny. You do have to actually, by the rules, ask your locker room. I'm
I
sure you
will.
can convince them. I'm sure it won't be hard to convince them of what rule you'd like to change. I have a feeling I know what it is too. But I find it very funny, and therefore I am very happy. I thought for sure Adam was going to win. Um, I really did. Um,
I knew it was Clemson. I just couldn't. I couldn't get to the name fast enough.
oh man, yeah.
Perks of
Uh,
being on a phone, I guess.
I no. Wait, you are on the yeah, you are on your phone. I don't know,
Well,
man.
I'm on my laptop
And the phone.
for
Yeah, that's
recording
usually
and my
what our
phone.
winners do is they'll have their phone and their laptop together. Um, yeah, so.
It's okay. Gage Tyson actually is on Texas now, so it still
Oh,
counts.
really?
Yeah,
Oh,
he transferred to Texas.
yeah, you know what? Actually, I think I saw that.
That's why I got
Oh,
confused.
yeah. No, you just need the player. That's you got to listen to the questions too. So, all right, we are almost done here. Right before we finish up, I do want to just shout out you guys. My channel again. I had not posted anything on my YouTube channel. I had always just been a YouTube subscriber. We have had some great showings, especially the last few weeks. I mean, I'm just going to the channel here, the analytics page on the channel. Um, obviously, the last one that we put out, podcast number 5, had an average view duration that was a record. I think episode 4 of the recruiting was the most viewed. But we've had 2 or 3 videos of over 50 views. We've had, I think, like 20 or 30 subscribers, which, it's not the million subscribers of some big YouTubers, but I really do want to thank you guys. It has shown, because here's the thing, like, obviously it shows that this is working and this is a great podcast to watch and all that fun stuff. I'm sure viewership will go up during the season as well. But the other part I want to add to that is just simply when you subscribe and watch and comment, I encourage you guys to do it not just because I'm a YouTuber now apparently, but because it shows Mike, it shows Frosty, it shows the rest of the league that this is a podcast that we can make into a bigger thing. We can potentially do, on-camera episodes, live episodes. We've tossed that around because this program has the ability to do that. And so the fact that we have more than 50 people watching this shows that we can potentially doing that. So um, just thank you, everybody. I wanted to post that before we, finish this podcast. Thank you so much for the support, and here's to another great month and a great season. And so usually I give you guys about 30 seconds to promote your team. Keep it to 30 seconds or less. We're already running a little bit over time, but Tiny, you win. I'll give you the first chance here to, shout out your team.
I mean, hey, it's we're starting something over in Knoxville. It's going to be an interesting season, and I'm hoping to throw the ball all over the field, regardless of what uniform it's going to. I brought in a great coordinator. I hope I mean, he's been simming away nonstop since he started, and I really appreciate him for that. And Vertigo is going to be a new number next year. It's going to be number 16 in honor of Peyton Manning.
I feel like there's a
Right.
little bit of a unwritten rule that you broke putting a Tennessee player in number 16, but it's not my team, so I don't care.
It's a retired number, I will say, but also my coordinator is a huge fan of Reggie White, who also number 92 is also retired. So I put him in that, and we're just going to continue their legacy.
Hey, you know what? It's the CFSL. It's not the pros or the call it real world. So I'll give you prop for that. Adam, you came in second. You get the second opportunity here to talk about Florida for a little bit.
I mean, last season was building the roster from scratch. My goal was to just get a good core group and at least win a couple games, and we did that. And we had a few holes to plug and some talent deficits that we needed to address in the off season. I think we have, and I think I've still got another fish or two on the hook. Just got to reel them in, and This Florida team's it's gonna surprise some people. This offense is gonna be pretty awesome. Go Gators.
Alrighty. Drake, 0 points. You almost got your own player to transfer mid-podcast. Maybe not the best showing, but talk about your team for a little bit.
Well, it's a storm brewing in Beast Lansing. And I just want you all to know that MSU, we coming. I'm definitely looking for a whole 360 from last season. Cole Mantell, I'm saying it right now, All-American, most improved player, offensive player of the year. What more can you ask for? We're going to ball out. We're going to be exciting, fast, aggressive, and very, very physical. Watch us work. Spartans will. Let's go.
Well, I would be mad if I was a coach, but considering that I no longer have to coach, I'm just the player. Go ahead, let's say it. Cole Mantell, gonna be the best quarterback ever. I could just be a fan of this team, and hopefully, I'll get myself into fan of the year. I'm gonna shout myself out. I'm gonna try to go fan of the year this year. That's my goal. So
Let's go.
I hope this helps, guys, in getting my name out there for that. But we got 8 weeks to go and a lot of great people to contend for it. That's going to be it. The second longest edition of the Cole Mantell Show, and I think it was worth every minute. Thanks everybody for jumping on. Again, I'd like to thank uh, Adam Smith, the AD of Florida, Antonio McDaniel, the Michigan State Athletic Director, and of course CJ Furman, Tiny, the Tennessee AD. Good luck, all three of you. You're in your seasons. We're just a few weeks away from Labor Day, the start of the season 21, and that's all you're gonna get from me. We'll see you guys next week, and stay tuned. We
Make
should
sure I have
have
a
some
good one.
more, some great stuff in store. Have a good one, guys.
Gators.
Amen. You all have a good one.